Hello everybody, welcome back. So I'm going to have a look at SXP here, and I'm not going to sell you any kind of hopium, and I hope that you don't take my advice, because it's not advice, it's me telling you what I'm going to do and why I'm going to do it. So this is SXP on the weekly, alright? So you might look at this and go, well, there's not much there, it's just a U-shape. I like these U-shapes, to be honest with you. These could turn out to be some form of cup in handle, even though it's not one at the moment. What we're looking at here is a general death and a resurrection, and now a retest of this 10 exponential on the weekly. All right, so we are looking at it on the weekly. Also on the weekly, we saw a pretty overbought territory on this week here, and a diving back down for the RSI into like a comfort zone area. We could all come back down to $1.25, and things could be all fine for me, and it basically like an opportunity. As we see Bitcoin trying to make steps down, probably to 41 to 42, maybe even 40. Lowest I would say would be down at these zones here. This is the absolute lowest. It would go around about 37,500. And again, I'm not particularly in favour of that happening. I don't really see that happening, but it could. It's going to take alts down with it. This isn't like the last rotation where Bitcoin was redistributing its wealth into altcoins because the Bitcoin dominance was so high. Now the Bitcoin dominance is at a reasonable level where basically it's basically everybody's taking money, everybody's taking profit from every little place, and it's probably going to go into Bitcoin first. That's usually how a rotation completes. But for the moment, I'm seeing a lot of these altcoins being oversold at the moment, and this is one of my preferences. I'm not big on fundamentals, but I do look into the things that I trade, and fundamentally I think this one has pretty low market cap for what it could be capable of, and especially some of the developments that are going to take place in the future. You'll have to watch other YouTubers about those sort of things. I'm not the most clued up on fundamentals. I trade charts. So judging this by the chart alone, we have an opportunity right this moment on the green 50 exponential to bounce. Don't think it will. I think it's more likely to have a full retest down to the 200 exponential, which isn't uncommon after a golden cross. So we get this golden cross here. We kind of rallied. It was very bullish at the time, and this sell-off has tried to test it. I think it probably will test it. That'll bring us down to around about, we'll call it $1.62 or thereabouts. And if we bounce from there, which I expect we would, we might even find that to be the bottom. Worst case scenario, we'd come down to that figure that I mentioned here, about $1.20, which is also, if we look on the weekly, roughly basically the center of the Bollinger Band on the weekly. I know that these are significant retraces, significant pullbacks. You could even call them crashes. But for me, I don't see it like that. I see it like I've been given another opportunity to buy into something that I think could go quite high. Now, I'm not going to be one of those clickbait type people, right? Even though it would help my YouTube out massively, I could say, oh, it's going to $100, guys. This is going to $50. This is going to do 1 million X. I could say that sort of thing, but it's not going to be helpful to anyone other than my YouTube channel, and that's not really what I'm about. So what I'm saying is it's more about finding potential lows based on moving averages and historical price action. So if we go down here, historical price action showed us that about $1.20 is where we first really started to break out bullish. I mean, SXP does some really significant ups and downs. I mean, this is where I started trading it with a bot basically, and this is where I got into it for a spot trade. I was enjoying the ups and downs with the bot trading, and then I kind of came to the realization that the spot hold would probably be better for me, and it worked out pretty well. Taking profits on the way up to the point where I've sold about 50% of them. So basically, I've still got quite a lot riding as they go all the way down. Not particularly afraid of that move, given the way I see this one playing out, especially in the long term as well. So a retest down to around about $1.60 I would expect to be the first opportunity for a big bounce. We may not get there, but I'm hoping that we do, but we may not. We've also got this blue box zone of interest here, which corresponds to where we first launched from, and also had a bit of a dance around that zone on our way back down. This also could offer a support as well, and might be worth a little area to scale into, perhaps, maybe. You can argue that is also where we've retested that wick there. it's very difficult to say if it's going to come down any further. It's all very much dependent on Bitcoin, but the way that Bitcoin looks, if we don't bounce from here, we come down to these zones here, and that's definitely going to bring SXP down further. So that's it on its USDT pairing. Let's have a look on the Bitcoin pairings, where we can see that this is a much more, I suppose, I wouldn't say bearish, but ripe for opportunity chart to look at on this occasion. So what we see is a massive fall from our all-time high, which is all the way up here, and if we were to measure that from up to there, where that's a 700% move. Very exciting stuff, really, considering that that is not impossible, although that's not going to be my clickbait title because it's just not appropriate. But I mean, it is possible that would happen, but for that to happen, first we need to reclaim this area here. This is the 200 exponential all the way up here. That's going to offer a significant rejection zone, and also we've got a negative cross taking place here on the conversion baseline cross on the Ichimoku cloud. So the way you trade this, so if there is a positive cross like this one, which is good, but it's beneath the cloud, you don't really trade that. I mean, it's a buy signal, I suppose, but it's not perfect. You could trade that one if you wanted to. The best ones are the ones that take place above the cloud. So because we had this cross here and it diverged and it's been positive this entire time, now it's gone negative. I'm not seeing it particularly as a bad thing, even though it's not a bullish thing. What I'm seeing it as, okay, this would allow for it to, hopefully, if it can sustain some kind of price above this cloud, for instance, get a positive cross at some point in the near future, which would be a much more bullish cross than it would have been back down here. So this is a good cross. If it were to take place above a cloud, it would be a much more bullish cross, and the price would be way better than it has been already. I mean, we've seen some good moves with SXP. If we get a bullish cross like that and all the other things are in place or above the cloud and the Chiku span is away from price action, that would be a really decent move, and then reclaiming this would be a really decent move. So these are all things that I anticipate to take place over the year, and when they do take place, they would have some really significant results. So let's go to the weekly chart and just wrap it up on the weekly chart. What we see here is a very small chart that's really got not much going for it at all. There's really nothing to go by on this chart. What I can say though is that by looking at the chart here, we are basically holding on to dear life above this 7 simple moving average. We got a support from there last week. We're closing above there hopefully this week, but there's not much to go by on this one. So let's have a look at the weekly on the Tether pairing. Actually, this one's actually is looking a lot better. The reason I say that is that we are above the centre of the Bollinger Band, above all major moving averages actually on the weekly, and we do have a positive conversion baseline cross for what it's worth, but it is such a small chart that there's not even a cloud, so I'm not going to really think about that for anything at all. So all I'm saying is, as we get distracted by the red, we forget how profits are made, right? We forget how we make the profits. We don't make profits by buying into assets that are going up massively. Some people do that. Some people like to buy breakouts and things like that. What we look at is we look at things that are getting to an oversold territory. We look at things that are going down to their support zones or historical resistance levels, and we try and find confluence between different time frames. For me, it would be the weekly and the daily, and if we can find confluence between the weekly and the daily, then we give ourselves a much better way at scaling into something that could potentially be at the bottom. Now, if you really want to play it safe, you wait for it to bottom, and you stand back and you sit back and you wait. You go into hibernation, you chill out, and you just wait, and you wait for an established uptrend to then form, which is a much safer way to do this kind of thing. And I would probably say, if you're not used to trading, then wait for an established uptrend, which we clearly don't have on Bitcoin here. We don't have that on anything right now. There's no established uptrend on this, nor is there on Bitcoin. So all I'm saying is, I'm personally get relatively excited when we see significant drops like this, because I've been in cryptocurrency for long enough to recognize when it's a pullback, and how dramatic it can be, and where to buy the blood. Now, when we're looking at Bitcoin on the long-term time frames, this is definitely not the end of the cycle. All right, I'll give you. This is what I think has happened right now. I think that the sentiment for Bitcoin has been very bullish too bullish, really. Too many tweets by too many people, basically selling the dream to Bitcoin to people. It's become a part of many new people's lives, so they've been buying into it, and now this is their first real taste of fear, which is fine. Everyone, especially with cryptocurrency, you do end up. It is a trial by fire, there's plenty of fire in this space. But it doesn't concern me overall, because I do believe that the overall market cycle has still got plenty of room to go, even if it only means that Bitcoin goes up another 100%, which it could only go up another 100%. It's still going to allow for the market value to increase astronomically overall. The entire market cap of cryptocurrency is just about $1 trillion. I imagine it's still $1 trillion now. Bitcoin was just $1 trillion not too long ago, so I would expect it's actually pretty high. We're looking to see a much bigger market valuation of cryptocurrency by the end of this year. This is the year that we've been waiting for since 2018, really, counting down for. Well, I mean, we've been buying in here, there, and everywhere, but 2021 was always going to be the biggest year for cryptocurrency, and I still believe that. There's no reason to dispute a market cycle which is repeated twice in full already, and it appears to be ready to complete a third time. If you're going to trade charts, if you're going to trade any kind of asset, you have to study the chart and put your trust in that chart. So my trust is in that the market cycle is still due to complete, which would mean that essentially the rest of this year is essentially going to be bullish. But at the end of the day, you can have a market cycle that's bullish. Let's go back into Bitcoin's just a very early history here. Well, it's not that early. This is 2017, all right? So the last stage of the bull cycle. So remember, we've already gone up, thousands of percent at this point, and look, this is a pullback that we see here. Oh, everything's looking good. We're going up. The last stage of the market. What? Oh my God, 25% retracement. Oh my God, what's this? That is a 42% retracement. That's terrible. It's maybe this market cycle's not going to wait. It will complete. Of course it will. It's the market cycle. They generally do complete. Look, we're going to get pullbacks. We're always going to get pullbacks. Alts generally end up getting the biggest pullbacks, but they also have the biggest gains. A 31% retracement just before the final blow off top at the end of the year, into 2017, into 18, which roughly corresponds to how this market cycle will be between November to January. And that's when that's when we should start to get worried about taking profits and scaling out appropriately and things. But for the moment, I'm really not fussed. And all I'm seeing now is just opportunities to scale back in to some of these majority altcoins, to be honest with you. Majority altcoins. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.